6 surgeons, 4 locations, 1 goal: to improve the health and lives of people in Oklahoma. At Oral and Maxillofacial Associates, we treat every patient like family. As the preferred dental implant and oral surgery specialist of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and with over 30 years of service to our community, we are trusted by professionals and dedicated to expert care. With 4 convenient locations around the metro area, we are here for you. Trust the experts at OMA. Visit our website, www.omaok.com.
Well, hello and welcome, football fans, to the 2025 Skordle Pater Preseason Pick'em Show. We are filming this show about 10 days away from Week 0, and Skordle is excited to bring you another season of Oklahoma high school football. I am your host, Andy Campbell, and I'm joined today by our usual panel of experts. We have the voices of Skordle, Tom Nelson and Mark Rogers, who will be bringing you all the Skordle games of the week throughout the football season. You also hear tonight from Jacob Dieselhorst, our odds maker and picker, as we have on every week, and our guest picker tonight, Aaron Kauk, the voice of the Elk City Elks, as well as the Skinny on the Sports radio show. Aaron, thanks for joining us tonight. He's a return guest. We've had him on the show last year, so Aaron, good to have you again. We are going to preview every class tonight in Oklahoma football, and I'll ask our panelists to pick a gold ball winner, some other teams who may compete for the gold ball, and maybe a storyline or a player to watch throughout the season. So we're going to start on the top and work our way all the way down to Class C, but let's start with 6A1. Bixby won their 7th straight gold ball last year in a 43-42 game for the ages, the win over Owasso. Mark Rogers starts off with 6A1.
Well, this is a great class. I had a chance to call the 6A1 state championship game a year ago, and it was between Owasso and Bixby, and it came down to the final play. And I got to go with Bixby again in this class. They've got a returning quarterback that has really been solid in Carson Kirby. But the reason why Bixby continues to win and pile up state championships is because of their strength and conditioning program. It's just simply the best in the state. And there are some schools that I think are doing a good job of making strides to try to catch up with them. But they've been so far ahead that it doesn't matter who they lose. It's just the fact that they replace those players with more great players. And so it's a credit to Bixby. I do think Owasso, it's the first game of the season coming up next Thursday. That'll be a great game when they play Owasso and Bixby play. Bill Blankenship back as the head coach at Owasso. They also have a good quarterback in Drew Frankenfield, whose mom's from Blackwell. But then if he was at Blackwell, they might get the 5 wins this year, which would be a great season for them. So, and then as far as a dark horse in this class, I think everybody is really excited about Mustang on this side of the state. And if you just took Mustang's skill players, which is Jaden O'Neal, who moved from California, that will go to Florida State. He was OU's quarterback commit until he decommitted. But they've got move-ins from all over the metro area at the skill positions. But I don't know if they can hang up front with Bixby and some of those other schools. If they can win the state championship because skill-wise, they are as good as anybody. So I think that it's going to be fantastic. Those programs are building, and I think the day is coming for the West Side. I'm not sure if it's this year, but I go Bixby again until somebody beats them, and I say that Mustang is a team to keep an eye on.
Tom Nelson.
Yeah, the streak by Bixby is amazing. Well, it's even more amazing as you consider they have to do it every year against Jinx and Union, Owasso, Broken Arrow, all right there in the backyard. I'm not picking against Bixby. I think that we're going to see a 6A1 Bixby-Owasso sandwich. They're going to play at Chapman Stadium next week on 0 week, as Mark mentioned. And I think that they're going to play in the championship game in December at UCO, and I think Bixby's going to win that game. And you were talking about Mustang, and, it's been exactly 30 years since Midwest City, brought the gold ball back to the OKC area. And it's going to be interesting to see if Mustang, with all that talent coming in there, can make something happen. I've only lived in Oklahoma for 22 years, so I've never seen it, and I'm not planning on seeing it this year. But it should be fun to watch and see what Mustang can do.
Aaron.
Yeah, I'm not going to step in front of the Bixby train, but I like, Owasso obviously was fantastic. That was a great final. Jinx has star power. New head coach, and then everybody said Mustang on the West. I had them probably the best of the West, but until somebody beats Bixby and stops that streak, I don't see any reason to step in front of that train.
Jacob.
Yeah, Bixby going for 8 straight. Their offensive coordinator, Tyler Schneider, isn't, he's kind of like the ringmaster. I mean, getting to watch them play the last few seasons against Deer Creek, the way that they execute their offense, the way that they, group sub in certain sets to run plays, they seem like they're just a level above everybody else in their game planning, and that's on both sides of the ball. So it's hard to pick against Bixby, but I'm going to go against the grain here, and I'm going to take Owasso to flip the table this year. And I do think Bixby wins week 0, but then I think Owasso wins in the final, which I think is somewhat similar to what happened last year with Bixby winning. But it's going to be excellent football. Oklahoma High School 6A1 football is elite high school football.
All right, let's go to 6A2. Choctaw won a gold ball last season with his 26-25 defeat of Muskogee. Tom Nelson, tell us about 6A2.
Well, Choctaw broke through. They won their first state title since 1960. I don't think it's going to be 65 years before they win another one. I think they're going to get it done again. I think they go back to back because so much of what got them there a year ago is back for another go around. I think Stillwater is going to be right there. Deacon Jones, saw him play a couple of years ago as a freshman. Athletic, physical receiver, a lot of pieces back from last year's 9-3 team makes Stillwater a team I think can be there. It's going to be interesting to see what Muskogee does. New coach, Coach Condict is there, comes over from Wagner. Of course, we know what he did at Wagner. I'm just going to put Stillwater a little bit ahead of the Ruffers because of that continuity that Stillwater has. Uh, Dark horse, throw Putnam City in there. Not just because Dejon Ackerman signed with my K-State Wildcats, but Todd Miller's going to be doing the broadcast for the Pirates this season, and I hope he has some good games to call. So that's what I'm thinking in 6A2.
Mark Rogers.
Tell you this, man. John Brooks, who is now gone with the Chrome Dome, it's turned back the clock on him. He asked me to sub in a Putnam City game, and I want to tell you right now, that is, I mean, I made less money at OU than what Brooks is paying for those Putnam City games. So I'll tell you what. Just saying. Okay. Tom and I have exchanged notes, I think. I agree with everything he said. And when I was talking to Jake Corbin earlier this year, I think they might have a chance to be better at Choctaw. They've got 2 Division I corners that are both big in Dejon Green and Khalil Grant that are really good. Their quarterback, Gaston, has played the last 3 years. He just hasn't had the starting position. Titus Hawk is a guy that can really make a big impact on both sides of the ball. But this is a class that is just kind of the same as last year's. We ought to have an incredible semifinals. And Putnam City does have a chance to break into the semifinal group. I like Sand Springs a lot. I'm not sure what they're trying to do playing both Bixby and Owasso in their non-conference schedule because they could probably get through that a little bit easier. But I think Bobby Klink's done a great job with that program, and this may be the best team that Sand Springs has had. So I'll go with Choctaw. I will respect Stillwater, Muskogee, Sand Springs, and Putnam City all chasing them. And I think the margin's really close. So I think that it slight lean to Choctaw, but a really good 4 or 5 teams in that class.
Aaron.
I can't wait to see what Coach Condit does at Muskogee. Probably the odds-on favorite last year, just didn't get it done. Choctaw was able to win. I'm going to go Stillwater. I love what they bring back. You know, they were, 2-time champs going into last year. The continuity that Tom talked about is there. So I'm going to go with Stillwater. But yeah, Choctaw, Muskogee, PC, and Sand Springs, like Mark said, all right. It's pretty clumped up together. Should be a real fun semifinal and finals in 6A2.
Jacob D-Source.
Yeah, you got to tip your hat to these 6A2 teams that are playing these really tough preseason, or excuse me, non-conference, non-district games out of lead. You guys mentioned a moment ago that Choctaw is also playing Bixby, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, they are.
And it's actually their first game of the season, which they don't play their first game until September 19th, which is, maybe it seems like a late start. But and then Muskogee, I think, is playing Booker T. Washington too for their first game of the season, which is going the other direction, but still on the road. We're going to see what these 6A2 teams are made of, and I think maybe that's the idea. is, go get a punch in the mouth early in the season, see how these elite 6A1 teams operate, and maybe learn something for those games that might serve us well come, crunch time and district play. So uh, I like Choctaw. They're kind of, to me, the Bixby of 6A2 with the way that they execute and the way that they rebuild and seem to just regroup and restock every season at every position. But at the same time, I think Stillwater, I drove by that stadium several times this past week, moving my daughter in at OSU, and there's an ambiance there. There's a home field advantage in that place, and they've got a very talented group of wide receivers and an explosive offense. So I see a Stillwater Choctaw final, and I'm going with Stillwater just because if I don't, my wife will kill me for not pulling for her alma mater.
I think Choctaw. I think that they've got 2 out-of-state games scheduled before they play Bixby. They're going to play at Hayes, Kansas, and then they're going to play Lubbock, Monterey, who they're returning a game from last year.
I'm a Hayes native. They're a 5A school in Kansas, which is the second biggest class, and I feel sorry for the Hayes Indians. Choctaw
Pretty good.
coming to Hayes. They played for the state championship last year, but they went 8-5, and they kind of made a run late. But there's a big difference between Oklahoma and Kansas high school football, I'll tell you that.
Moving on to Class 5A, Carl Albert won its 19th state championship in December with a 30-6 win over Guthrie. Mark, can anyone beat the Titans in 5A in 2025?
It'll be tough. They are reloading with a really good group. So they have to replace so many good players in their secondary. But talking to Mike Dunn, they've just got guy after guy after guy that's going to step in. And then they've got Jax Wilkerson, who might be the top freshman in the state. He's already 6'7", 285 pounds, and wears a size 18 shoe. So I guess physically he's probably ready to play as a 9th grader, I would think. Del City will be good again. I think Booker T. Washington is going to be pretty good. I see that their numbers are up. They're up from a couple of years ago from 40 now to about 65. So I think they're going to be really good. I'll give you one dark horse. It could be the best team that Pryor has ever had. Their quarterback, Braden Ward. They've won some big games in the past couple of seasons, but they've never been able to advance to a semifinal. And so we'll see if they can get that done this year. But yeah, this is an amazing run from Carl Albert, and this might be the year to get them because they'll have a ton of experience coming back over the next couple of years.
Tom.
Yeah, I think that if they win the state championship this year, they've got 20, which puts them past Ada for most state championships in Oklahoma history. I'm going against them. I'm going to go ahead and be the contrarian here. They graduated a lot of talent. I know they've got a lot back, and it's kind of a reload situation. But I think this might be the year somebody sneaks past them, and I think it's going to be Del City. They got a lot of hungry guys. Rickland Holmes, at running back and linebacker, a really good player. Guthrie and Booker T going to be there in November as well. I think 5A might be about as wide open as it's been in a long time. We'll see what happens.
Aaron.
You said 6'7", 285 freshman, Wilkerson.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a freshman in my house that's like 5'7", 120.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe not the same there. Carl Albert, I think that's the storyline in Oklahoma high school football this year is for the first time since I've been alive, I guess, somebody other than Ada might be atop the Mount Rushmore of high school football programs. They did lose a ton. I know Elk City had played them in the non-district, not last year, but the 2 years before that. The linebacker, what was it? Caden something.
Davis.
Caden Davis.
Yeah.
That dude was phenomenal high school football player to go with all the collection of D1 talent that they had around him. Guthrie, it seemed to play them well in the regular season, not in the finals last year. Del City's always super duper talented. I was surprised. I was not surprised, I say, at Newcastle's run last year with them bumping up to 5A. We had seen them in the playoffs the year before, and they were very talented. They lost some of that. But Carl Albert, I think that is the story in them getting to 20, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't.
Jacob.
Yeah, Carl Albert, man, but the way that they were playing just kind of just peaking at the right time every season. I don't think anyone would disagree that late in the season last year they might have been the best team pound for pound in Oklahoma. And even though they lost, all the superstars they had from last season's team, they're like Bixby. They're like, Choctaw. They just reload every year, it seems like, and until someone knocks them off, they're the team to beat in Class 5A. And Del City, if anybody is going to do it, it's going to be their next door neighbors, Del City, who's going to have one of the talented rosters in 5A. And then on the east side, I think McAllister, is bringing a really good team back. And I think they're going to be the best team in 5A on the east, and possibly could see Carl Albert in the finals. So yeah, Carl Albert until somebody beats them, but 5A is going to be really competitive this year.
Definitely a shout out to Coach Jeff Craig there at McAllister in his first year. Good friend of the show. He's been on many times as a guest picker. So best of luck to the Buffaloes and Coach Craig this year. Let's move on to Class 4A. Elgin won a state title last year with a 29-22 win over the Tuttle Tigers. Tom Nelson, who gets it done this season in 4A?
I'm kind of a closeted Elgin Elves fan. They love their game time down there, so forgive me if I stand on business. I think they get it done again this year. Probably going to have to beat Tuttle again to do it. I'm watching Fort Gibson. The coaches picked them with Wagner to win that district, and they've got a really talented and experienced offensive and defensive line guy named Cooper Hackett, top 10 lineman prospect in the junior class. He's being chased by a bunch of big schools already. So my dark horse is Fort Gibson, and I think Elgin's going to win it.
Mark.
Can we have a list of people that don't like game time? I mean, what do they think? I mean, they need to have Tom Nelson's voice booming over the loudspeaker. Everywhere we go, I hear Tom every Friday, which is great. I got it Tuttle 1, Elgin 2. Tuttle has a bunch of talent coming back, and Cruz Campbell, their quarterback, threw 40 touchdowns and 3 picks last year. That's pretty good. He's got both the Lane brothers as juniors, and Tuttle's just got players everywhere. So the Elgin program has been built to last. Chalmer, Wyatt, and that group down there is really, really good. Ryan Breeze, that coached at Lawton for a while, is on staff there. They've got a really, really good thing going. So I think those two teams are going to battle it out. I like Ada a lot. I think Ada, coach's son at quarterback, some really good athletes. They put some big numbers up, and I think that's the district to watch this year because I really like Salisaw. BT, Brandon Tyler, it wins every year. I mean, the guy's going into the Oklahoma Coaches Hall of Fame. It should be in there already. Now I think he's got 200 career wins. So he'll have Salisaw in the mix. Broken Bow's good with Graydon Howell, their quarterback. Poto is also really good. And so that group right there is that'll be a battle. I mean, any of those teams could win that district, but I think everybody's chasing the teams that was in the final last year.
Hey, Mark, since we're on the topic of Class 4A, do you want to reveal the Skordle game of the week for week 0?
Week 0, we're going to be at Tuttle. It will be Guthrie and Tuttle. That should be a great ball game to open up the season. I love the fact that those two teams decided to play and had a good game last year that ended with a great catch in the end zone. So I'm excited to see that one.
Aaron, Class 4A.
Yeah, it's Elgin and Tuttle at the top. I'm like Mark. I think Ada will be around. To me, though, the advantage Elgin had last year isn't there because they graduated the behemoths on the offensive line. I mean, that was something you just don't see in 4A very often. Guys that size that can move that well, and that many of them together, man, they were unbelievable to watch. I do have Ritzenmeyer back, who is an absolute load trying to tackle that dude. Donnelly at the linebacker spot, and I think Bryce Martin, maybe one of the corners, is back for Elgin. But I like Tuttle. Their skill is still there, even though they lost some of the guys on the outside with McAdoo especially. But they also, it seemed to me like Tuttle, their younger lineman, Hollyman maybe was a freshman last year, just a gigantic dude out there.
That's right.
A little concerned with Avalos in the middle as a linebacker. It seemed like he made every tackle that night in the first round of the playoffs when we were there. But I think it's Tuttle. It's been way longer than people realize since they've won because they've always been there. And I think Tuttle just not as disadvantaged on the offense and defensive line this year against Elgin. I think they get it done.
Jacob.
Yeah, it is fun seeing these teams play these, out of class early season games, and that total game Guthrie game is going to be one of the example of that. We talked about it, some others tonight. You know, 4A is loaded. I think there's 8 teams in 4A, and you guys have all mentioned those 8 teams. Elgin, obviously, defending champ, team to beat. Tuttle, perennial powerhouse. They're going to be right there. Ada, to me, last year seemed like a team on the rise, and I know they return a lot. So I think Ada's going to be in the mix. And then, you can't mention 4A and not mention Blanchard, too. I think Blanchard's just a gritty team that's going to be there as well and plays in that really tough district. And so, but I'm picking Tuttle. I think Tuttle, like Aaron said, I think Tuttle's got the right chemistry coming back, and it's going to be those 4 teams, though, in my opinion.
I think it'd be kind of cool. It'd be kind of interesting if Ada would happen to have a great run, win a state championship, and kind of say Carl Albert not so fast.
Yeah, everybody's taking that for granted that Carl Albert wins and they're going to be at the top of the mountain. I think that's something maybe to keep a little chip on Ada's shoulder.
Well, yeah, and Ada's last championship was 95, right?
I think that's right.
95, the 95 season. I mean, they've been there. I think they played at Heritage Hall one year in a 4A final, but wow, I mean, it's been a long time. And Ada had a huge lead that finally been caught by Carl Albert, and Jinx is one behind them.
Okay. Hey, Tom Nelson, before we go any further, we revealed one Skordle game of the week for week 0. Do you want to talk about the other Skordle game of the week for week 0?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be a short drive from me, going 20 miles north of Enid up to Pond Creek Hunter. Got 8-man football action coming your way. And the reason we're going to be up at Pond Creek Hunter is they take on Coyle on 0 week on Friday night is because they're going to be honoring the 40th anniversary of the 1985 state championship team. It's hard to believe it's 40 years. I graduated in the class of 85. That just blows me away. But Van Shea Ivan was the quarterback on that team. They got a lot of the people coming back for that one. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Coach Welch, we're going to be up there doing the broadcast and looking forward to it. Of course, I wasn't in Oklahoma back then, so but I followed Pond Creek Hunter since I moved, and I've had a chance to broadcast their state championship games, their state championship win over the years. But be cool to look back 40 years and honor that 40-year-old state championship team at Pond Creek Hunter.
Don't forget about your brother from another mother, Doug Nelson.
And Doug's going to be there. He's doing color with me. He'll be there.
Van Shea just threw the ball straight up in the air, and Doug jumped over everybody.
Always good to have Coach Welsh back in this.
Yeah, and like I said, Coach Welsh, obviously was what transitioned Fairview into football, prominence. But his wife Ann Welsh taught me English. Now that is an accomplishment if you think about things.
And you passed the bar. Holy cow!
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's where it started. Was English. And I can talk all day and very good English. So thank you, Miss Welsh.
Too bad somebody can't capitalize your name, your first and last letters of the name, because they'd have failed English.
Yeah. I told Adam the only concession I'm making to my situation is I've got to be in a place with air conditioning in the press box, and Pond Creek Hunter definitely fits the bill. So
I'm sure we'll be talking about those 2 teams here just a few minutes, Tom. But
craving a dessert that's simply irresistible? Indulge in Brahms Molten Lava Cake Sundae. Ripples of hot fudge layered on chocolate bun cakes, and scoops of Brahms premium vanilla ice cream, topped with more fudge and showered with toasted almonds. This Sunday is a chocolate lover's delight with whipped cream and a cherry on top. For a dessert that's irresistible, try Brahms Molten Lava Cake Sundae.
let's talk about Class 3A here for a minute. Private schools continued their dominance of 3A last season with the state championship win by Lincoln Christian. A close game, 28-27 over a really good Sulphur team. Mark Rogers, can a public school finally break through and win it in 2025?
What a game that was, man. That was something else. The best public school teams in that class, I believe, are Sulphur and Perkins. Plainview, I think, will be pretty good this year, but man, Lincoln Christian, everybody's chasing them. I mean, that's their program is rolling. And Heritage Hall plays them week 2. They also play Shiloh Christian, coached by Tucker Bernard, longtime Stillwater head coach. They beat them last year pretty easily. I don't see anyone really making much of a run at Lincoln this year.
Tom.
Yeah, Lincoln Christian hasn't lost since the semifinals in 2022. That's 28 straight wins. And with what they've got coming back, I think they're going to keep that streak going for a while. Carter Rickey, he's back at quarterback. But what's huge, all 5 starters from the offensive line are back. So you've got the talent at the skill positions plus the offensive line. And, you got Sulphur and the Halls are going to be looming back here, Cassia and Heritage. But I'll throw out the Berry Hill Chiefs as my team to keep an eye on, kind of off the radar screen. They got a bunch of seniors. They got some experience in the offensive line, 8 returning starters on defense. They're also a friend of Game Time. So at Berry Hill Cassia Hall game in Week 10, last game of the regular season, should be for the district title.
Aaron.
Yeah, we're getting to those schools where there's not one within 2 hours of Elk City, which is super weird. Like the public-private thing hasn't affected us until it gets to golf in years and years and years. But Lincoln Christian has been a juggernaut. Heritage is coming on. I think if not quite there though. Lincoln Christian once again. And it's sort of another theme that I have of the season is a lot of these teams are on some big time streaks of state championships, and it appears like a bunch of them are going to keep on doing it.
Lincoln, a really good team despite their play-by-play guy.
Well, he'll be there that night for the big ceremony in Pond Creek.
I say that jokingly. Doug Nelson, another great friend of the show. We love having Doug on. Jacob D. Sources, go to you, Class 3A.
Yeah, I decided that this season I'm going to not play into this whole private school, public school thing. Of course, I'm out there on an island. I don't boo Kevin Durant either. So, but anybody that wants to come with me, I'm all about peace and love. With that said, Lincoln Christian's going to kick all the public schools' butts. Probably. If there is a team that I think has some hope against Lincoln Christian, which is a well-oiled machine, it's Sulphur. I think Sulphur is going to be, an excellent team in this coming season, and so I hold out hope, and that's who I expect to see in the finals is Lincoln Christian and Sulphur, and you can never count out Heritage Hall. Great coaching staff, always have good athletes, kids that just make leaps. It seems like there's these kids at Heritage Hall, and all of a sudden you plug them in, and then they just take these huge leaps, like the Reese kid last year. But like I said, Lincoln Christian, just too talented, too deep, and too well coached. They're the team to beat in 3A.
If you need some Sulphur gear or apparel, if you really are, on one side of this public versus private, go by Hobbs Pharmacy in Sulphur. Great place. You can get all kinds of good stuff in there. So that's my recommendation.
They do have some sweet gear. I love the Sulphur colors too. You got to love their jerseys, and it's old school football.
Red and white.
Very good. Pro tip from Mark Rogers. All right, moving on to 2A1. Washington. Coach Brad Beller capped off a 3rd straight perfect season last year with a 7-6 win over Millwood in the state championship game. Tom Nelson, tell us about 2A1.
I learned a long time ago on this show, you never pick against Washington. I'm not about to start now. They've won 44 straight. And if they put together another 14-0 season, they'll be tied with Bixby for the longest 11-man winning streak in state history. And they got so much young talent, they could take this winning streak to 60 or 70 before they're done. Big game coming up, though, in a couple of weeks. Washington at Sulphur in the non-district. That's going to be their toughest test of that streak. Last year, they won it by 3, 27-24. You've got Jones and Metro Christian and Millwood going to be trying to catch the Warriors. My dark horse, Marlowe. They get Washington at home on October 16th. And because they're in the same district, they wouldn't have to play them again until a potential state title matchup. Keep in mind that Marlowe is the last team to beat Washington in the 2021 state championship game. But I can't go against Washington. I think they're going to roll again.
Mark.
They're really good. They're really good up front. Case Alexander is an awesome player that's kind of versatile. He can do a little bit of everything. Their quarterback is fantastic at Washington. They're the team to beat. The team that I think is next best is Jones. Asen Hansen has been a starting quarterback there for a while. They've got an impressive group. But Washington had 3 close calls last year. They had the overtime game against Sulphur that Tom talked about, then an overtime game against Marlowe. who was really close, and then that 7-6 game against Millwood in the finals. So they have been pushed. They had a couple other games in the playoffs that were tough. But what a great program. Brad Beller and his staff, they do an incredible job. So I would take Washington again.
Aaron.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to go against the 2A school with the indoor facility that we get to go and see, since Elk City plays in that basketball tournament every year. I do think maybe this could be a year with what they lost. I know they got a bunch of really good young guys, but maybe no. Once again, these teams that have that experience, that have won over and over and over, I don't necessarily want to get out in front of that either. Millwood would seem to be the one that has had, played their tail off in the finals, and maybe that those experiences there would help them in that situation, and any basketball guys that play football as well, just to be in that moment. But give me Washington again.
Jacob.
Yeah, that final last year, Washington and Millwood. I wasn't invited to the Pick'em show that late in the season, because you guys invite all these coaches whose teams have lost, and I get kicked to the curb. But I think everybody got 42-41 and ended up being 7-6. But anyway, that shows you how good of a team Washington is. That they find ways to win games that maybe they shouldn't have won, and they do it time and time again. And that's coaching, that's execution, that's a little bit of luck maybe too. It doesn't hurt. And so, Millwood, they're always going to have the athletes to compete with everybody. And I agree with Tom. I like Marlowe this season too, and that's the way that schedule sets up, and them being in Washington's district. I could see even them losing that game early in the season to Washington, but still going to be put on the other side of the bracket in all likelihood, and maybe see Washington then in the finals on a neutral site. And if anybody's going to knock Washington off when nobody expects it, Marlowe's got the pedigree to do it. So I'm picking Marlowe. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm picking against Washington, not because I don't think they're a powerhouse, but just because I would like to be controversial.
There you go.
Fair enough. Let's move on to 2A2. Davis was the inaugural champion of 2A2 last year with the 2018 win over Vian. Mark and Coach Parker and his Wolves team repeat this season.
They've got a good shot. They're pretty tough. They've got a bunch of players returning. This is one of those classes that I think is absolutely up for grabs. I don't think that there's as much distance in this group as there was. And last year's the same way, because you had 4 undefeated district champions in this class, and that wasn't the state champion. So Davis is good. My pick would be Vian at number 1. I like Holdenville a lot, that beat Davis last year. I like Adair a lot in this group. And so another very, very balanced year, I think, in this class. Vian has had a couple of transfers come in. They've got Mason Wright back for his senior season, and it might finally be the Wolverines year. The Vian Wolverines, not the Holdenville Wolverines, but Holdenville be in the running.
I like Vian. They like Mark mentioned, the transfers, including Ledger Folsom, came in from Eufaula, got a good running back, Drayton Fletcher. Nobody wants to go into St. John Stadium in November. I did it a couple times as a broadcaster. That's a tough place to go in and try to win.
Great stadium, by the way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, cool
Great
venue.
atmosphere on a cold Friday night in Eastern Oklahoma, I will tell you that. You talk about Davis, they're not dodging anybody. They've got 3A schools, including Sulphur and Plainview on the non-district schedule. They play in what might be one of the deepest districts in the class, Holdenville, Community Christian, and Beggs. A team that will have my attention just because I'm around, they're in the area, is Alva. They had a breakthrough season a year ago, 8 wins. They lost to Fairview Stroud and then got beaten pretty badly by Beggs in the playoffs. They've got a lot coming back. And they get Stroud at home on October 10th in district play. So that's kind of my dark horse, the Gold Bugs from Alva.
Aaron.
Well, I'm not going to pick anybody but Davis because of the gentleman that I have to work with all year long in head coach Zach Maynard. And he's told me all kinds of stories about being there and playing there, and the toughness. And that's obviously what he tries to do here with Elk City. Vian's awesome as well. I could see that easily being the state championship game. But just for my job purposes and to make it easier on me to deal with Zach, I'm going to take Davis.
I do have to say, you're talking about how tough it is to go into Viand. One of the toughest places I've ever gone to as a broadcaster was Davis. They put me in the visiting side press box, and there was no lights. So I had my color guy run to Dollar General, buy a lamp and duct tape, and we duct taped that lamp to the roof and had a good broadcast. But they had the nice press box across the way. We did not get the nice press box. We got the one with no lights. So.
Jacob Resource.
Yeah, I was going to say Davis. We talk about home field advantages. Davis is, and Friday night, the town of Davis shows up. And it seems like whenever Sulphur's got a really good team, Davis has a really good team too, which is every year, pretty much. I mean, you're talking about some really high-level high school football down in that part of the state, and those two teams. And it's always fun to see that rivalry every season out of class and out of district. So Davis is my pick. Obviously, Vian is going to be steamrolling teams, returning a lot of talent, and then even though they're in the same district, Beggs is my sleeper. I think Beggs is going to have an exciting team in this 2025. So watch out for Beggs, but my pick is Davis for about 2A2.
Hey, we mentioned great stadiums. Skordle has a Facebook post regarding the best high school sports stadium in the state of Oklahoma. Got a lot of good comments on there. So if you think your team has the best high school stadium in Oklahoma, feel free to go to Skordle on Facebook and comment on that. Definitely a lot of comments for the Rock and Guthrie and Frederick's Bomber Bowl and several others that have been mentioned. Mark, looks like
I know last year you almost died in your driveway, and Swish couldn't be here tonight, but I just want to say you're on point. So you've done a great job. You may be Wally Pippen, Swish.
Hey, but how about that turf at Eubanks Field, guys? Now we're talking.
Well, I do have to say the Rock is not high on my list. The Rock is not high on my list because when I used to do Enid High games, they put me on the roof of the visiting side concession stand. So they wouldn't let me in the press box.
Hey, that's not a bad. I called games from over there too. I mean, you've got Chris Evans that takes up 2 or 3 booths over there. So that's just where you go when you call a game from Guthrie. It's part of the deal.
All right, we have finally made it to A1. Rejoice Christian beat Fairview and Hooker on their way to a state title for Coach Marley last season. Tom Nelson, preview A1 for us.
I like Rejoice Christian to repeat. Mark and I saw him last year when they beat Fairview in the quarterfinals, and much of that cast of characters returns for another run, including my favorite name. Had to say it 10,000 times last year to get it down. ZZ Okwafelizi. He's 6'5", he's 200 pounds, receiver. Matchup problem for anybody in Class A. They've got Noah Goodman, a really good running back, one of the best in the state. 7 defensive starters back as well. Bacola is going to be in that mix. A couple of transfers they're counting on for some big things. They host Rejoice in district play in early October, so they do get Rejoice on their home field. We talk about stadiums. One of my favorite places to broadcast from was Cashin's old stadium. They've got a new stadium now and a new turf field, and after a couple of down years, after back-to-back gold balls in 2020 and 2021, the Wildcats are back, and Coach Shack's kids are going to be fighting for another state championship. But boy, Rejoice Christian, I think that they're going to get that second gold ball. I tell you what, I'm picking a lot of repeat champions this year.
A lot of homers.
Yeah,
that's okay though.
Nero just got offered by A&M as a sophomore, so don't see many of those in Class A1. Mark?
Yeah, Camion Compton-Nero is a superstar. I mean, he's a stud. When Cade Marley went down last year, he played quarterback, and it was ridiculous. He was incredible. I think he's a better football player than basketball player, and certainly the offers say that right now. Yeah, he's going to go wherever he wants to go. So I'm more Rejoice. And Andy, when you almost died in your driveway, I almost died at Rejoice trying to get into that press box because it was about 5 degrees and windy, and they had a ladder. I made a dismount in there that would have gotten a 2 point on a scale of 10. It was I think Adam's probably still laughing about it.
Okay, no, I gotta call out Mark on this one. This is, I'm used to doing these 8-man games, these small school games. I came dressed for that game in November because I knew we were going to be. I
I
expected
did
to
not
be
know
on
we were
the
going to be
roof.
outside. I have
Expected to
frostbite.
be on the roof. We wrap up that ball game, and I turned to Mark for some post-game comments, and he is gone. He
Jake, you
was
know a good
gone.
lawyer because I can't feel 3 of my fingers from that game.
Oh
Andy, what about
man.
you?
Naked and afraid.
Pawnee, hey, this class is good this year. I mean, there's some really good competitors in here. I think Rejoice is going to be very tough to beat, but there's a good group of people behind them. Cashin is in the group. Pawnee's in the group. I think Winniewood's in the group. Bacola is in the group. Huska's in the group. There's a bunch of good teams. So I think I'd say reserve a spot for Rejoice, and then it's wide open to see who's going to be there with them.
Aaron.
Yeah, Rejoice is there, and then who's gonna join them? One player that last year was sort of Hooker's year with all those guys that were seniors, but Palacios is back. He was absolutely electric running back there for Hooker. Watched some of Piccolo preparing for the Hooker game, and they're back. Cashin is a name that's kind of creeping back up there into the mix. I think that could be one of the most interesting kind of trips to OCU or UCO, excuse me, is who's going to join Rejoice in the finals because it almost just throw everybody's name in a hat, pull one out, and I don't think you'll be upset with anybody that you end up pulling out of that hat.
I appreciate you throwing Hooker in there real quick because that reminds me. I've got to say a good thing about Hooker because we went out to the Panhandle last year for the Hooker Fairview game, and they hooked us up with the barbecue spread of a lifetime on the visiting side. The home team didn't even get it. It was just for us. So I'm all about Hooker just because of the good barbecue out in the Panhandle.
You guys always get taken care of in Western Oklahoma in the Panhandle with these small schools.
Because they know we drive. They know how far we had to drive.
That's exactly right. A1, Jacob Bushorst.
Well, and there's just something to be said about Northwest Oklahoma. Let's be honest, right, Andy? Uh, so, when Fairview lost to Hooker in the regular season, and you kind of saw how that cards were going to fall then, where they're going to have to go on the road to Rejoice in the playoffs. You kind of saw the writing on the wall that there was going to be a new team, two new teams that kind of rose above Fairview from their dominance, and Jack's moving on to the next level. But don't sleep on Fairview. They have incredible facilities now. They work year round with these kids, and they have one of the best coaching staffs in Class A, and they got quality kids, quality families, and so I think Fairview is going to be a lot better than people think they are. But maybe a couple more years away from competing with teams like Rejoice. Rejoice is a team to beat. And then Cashin. I think Cashin with the new field, there's going to be new life breathed into the program. They probably have the best coach in Class A right now. So you can't sleep on coaching and new facilities, new life. I for some reason I see a Cashin Rejoice final, and maybe an upset there between those two teams. But I think it's going to be a coin flip, whether it's going to be Rejoice or the field.
Cashin opens up that new field against Tennessee here on the 29th, and then September 12th goes to Ringling, which could be an interesting game for the Wildcats. So it's going to be a very good year in A1 as usual. Always a great class that we like to follow here at Skordle. Moving on now to A2, the Woodland Cougars dominated Tallahena in the A2 state championship game last season with a 58-23 win. Mark, tell us about A2.
Tallahanea's got a bunch of people back. I mean, and for that program where they had struggled to field the team and watch some of their players leave and go to other places, it's got to feel really good. Their quarterback, Landon Griffith, is a stud. Love the way that he threw the ball last year as a sophomore. A lot of good teams in this one, too. I think Mangum's pretty good. Woodland will be good. Homony's always pretty good. So I'm going to go with I'll go with Tallahena to win one more game last year when they were the state runner-up.
Huh.
I'm going to go ahead and go with Woodland again. Once again, another repeat. They've got enough coming back. I think that they're going to be there again. Keep in mind how dominant they were a year ago. They beat Regent Prep 60-22 in the semis and Tallahena 58-23 in the finals. And those are the same teams we're probably going to have to be looking at again in November and December. Mark mentioned it. Watch out for Hominy. They're always tough, got great tradition, physical experience, and they get Woodland at home on October 10th. That's a home game. It's a tough place to win as well when you're a road team going into Hominy. So,
Aaron.
Man, I really, really like Mangum. I got to see a bunch of their younger kids last year that were freshmen, and some of them were forced into playing roles. And what I like about Mangum is they have all of the horrible taste in their mouth about not making it nearly as far as they thought they should have a year ago. They bring back a quarterback that got thrust into the position that he probably didn't think he's going to be as a freshman. I really like Mangum to be one of those dark horse teams. But like you said, Tom, Woodland dominated the playoffs at the end, and it's just hard to see somebody catching up to that, considering how much better it looked like they were a year ago. So Woodland, but man, I would not be surprised if Southwest Oklahoma doesn't have the Mangum Tigers somewhere in the quarters to the semis with the talent that they bring back.
Jacob.
We had a little glitch in the Vipe this year, and so the Mangum people know about that. I would say I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but they ended up with another team's article under their name. So I'll probably make a trip down to Mangum at some point in time this year just to see them. So Coach Powers is a good friend of mine. So I will. I think that Aaron and Skinny's right on this. They got a good shot.
Jacob.
I think this A2 is kind of wide open. I mean, Woodland obviously, steamrolled their way through the playoffs last year, but there are so many teams I feel like are ready to break through in the championship, territory. Regent Prep's got a lot coming back. Here I am, the Northwest Oklahoma guy. I think Thomas is going to have a really good team this season, and their brand of football. They match up with anybody. I also agree with Mangum. I actually had Mangum circled. Their schedule suits well, and that's a tough road trip for anybody. And then Tallahena too. I got to mention them, just because of Kings of Leon. I don't think Tallahena's been good since Kings of Leon were good, but they're going to be good this year. Maybe that means the Kings of Leon will make a comeback. But no, I'm picking Mangum. I agree with Aaron. I think I see a dark horse. Not that Mangum's a dark horse, but after what Woodland did, maybe not expected. But I'm going with Mangum. I see a new champion in A2 this year.
Hey, before we move on to eight-man football in Class B, Mark, I understand there's an event happening Sunday at 3:30 that you might want to give a little plug for. Tell us about that.
That's right. We're going to have a season preview. We're going to talk with selected coaches and players from all over the state. I'm not sure. Is that live?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think only Adam knows it is live. Yes, it will be live. So we're going to do it live, as Bill O'Reilly said.
We're going to do it live.
There won't be many mistakes. So tune in Sunday at 3:30. I'll also be navigating probably the end of my fantasy football draft. So I'm going to ask some of these coaches who I should select in the 10th or 11th round.
And that's where fantasy football is won, by the way.
I know.
That's the waiver wire. The waiver wire guys
last year too. So I need their help.
All right, we are officially in Tom Nelson territory here as we go into eight-man football with Class B1. The Dewar Dragons put a beating on Laverne 44-12 in the state championship game last season. Tom Nelson, give us a preview of B1.
Yeah, I got a new coach leading Dewar, but he's not new to the kids. The defensive coordinator from the past, Matt Ross, takes over for Josh Bean. The Dragons shouldn't miss a beat. They got three of the best in the state returning at the offensive skill positions. And when you watch Dewar, you're going to see a physical team that's going to hit you hard all night long. Their schedule, they got some non-district tests. They go to Waletka to open up the season in a couple of weeks, and a long trip to Sealing in October before they go to Caddo for what could be a district championship game in week 10. Even though they got a lot of holes to fill, Laverne's going to be in that mix because they always are. My dark horse, I'm going a little town east of Stillwater. I'm going with Yale. They got a lot of talent and experience coming back from a team that won 11-1 a year ago. Braden Hodgett averaged over 13 yards a carry, scored 32 touchdowns. I mean, Yale, since I've been in Oklahoma, they haven't been that good, but they're good right now. They've never won a gold football in Yale. They've won a couple of basketball gold balls, but this might be the year for Yale. We'll see.
Speaking of ceiling, new Skordle school. We love having the Wildcats on the Skordle network. So welcome all the ceiling fans. Mark Rogers, go to you, B1.
Hey, the barbecue's not only reserved for Western Oklahoma, because when Adam and I went to do a game at Dewar last year, they fed us all the cattle rustlers that we could eat there. So, and when they go to ceiling, they should be reciprocated with barbecue out there. Peyton Killhofer on that team, their quarterback is really good. He's been starting for a long time. Lewis, the running back, Braylon Lewis, is really good. They got all kinds of good players. I think that Dewar's the team to beat. My dark horse, Skinny, I may be stealing some of your thunder here. Going with Hollis. The Hollis Tigers be the dark horse in this class. I think that they've got a really good group that can play. No more Felix Teal and Laverne. He's been such a big part of that program, but I still think that Laverne's going to be good. They'll have some replacements in there, but I'll go with Dewar to win.
Aaron.
Yeah, I think maybe the ultimate compliment that a team can get is from kids that are in high school that don't want to admit that another team is better than them or tougher than them. I heard that from a kid out here that played Dewar in the playoffs. So nobody has ever hit harder. Nobody has ever been faster. Like what was going on? But yeah, they got everybody back. Laverne is Laverne. But you're right. Teal was such a weapon that he opened up a lot of things for everybody else. Hollis was going to be my dark horse. With some of the guys that they've got coming back and talking to one of their players over the summertime. It seems like they got a bunch of buy-in and they're pretty hungry to try to get back to where they were or even one step farther and play for a gold ball. So yeah, Hollis would be my dark horse, but it's going to be hard to knock off Dewar.
Jacob.
Yeah, just like I promised to not be making this, private school, public school thing, and I don't boo Kevin Durant. I'm also not going to make any jokes this year about 8-man football, adding 3 more players to the games. I promise. I won't mention that all season. Yeah, Dewar. Look, Dewar's the team to beat. Dewar, they seem to be up at a little higher level than everybody else, and got a lot coming back. Laverne, again, is a perennial powerhouse. But if and this is how far this has gone in high school football now. My understanding is Laverne's quarterback transferred to ceiling.
Yeah.
Now we have kids in B transferring. But that's where we're at. And yeah, since Yale was brought up, I have to mention Yale. That's my wife's dad. My kid's grandpa went to Yale. And so he's a Yale alumni from the good old days, the real good old days. It's probably 6-man football then. But no, Dewar's the team to beat. Dewar is, the class of Class B1, and they're my pick this season.
It makes me wonder. You talk about, we're now Texas and Kansas. Texas had it for a long time, but Kansas now has 6-man football classifications as the enrollments of the high schools in the western part of the state go down. You wonder how long it'll be before there might be a 6-man classification. You talk about a circus, 6-man football. That's a circus.
I gotta give a shout out to Emory Gregory, my grandpa, who was a 6-man football all-star. I've seen the yearbook pictures to prove it. So
where was that?
In Illinois, in Metamora, Illinois. I think that's where Grandpa and Grandma went to high school, isn't it, Adam? I'm gonna have to bring Adam out of the banisters to make sure I got that right. But
very nice.
6-man football, yeah. But no, 8-man football is there's something special about that. There's something just so pure about it, right? And it's fun to watch.
I got to say, the only place I've pretty much seen a brawl in an all-star game is the 8-man all-star game in Miami. I tell you what, those kids get after it every year. It's pretty intense.
All right, guys, 2 more classes, and we're down to Class B2. We mentioned Walika earlier. They got a big win, 54-12 over the Ceiling Wildcats for a gold ball last season. Tom, tell us about B2.
I think B2 is going to be really competitive. Last year, Waletka rolled over Ceiling in the final. I think that's marinated in Ceiling and made for a long off season. Ceiling punishes teams with their defense, gave up just 11 points a game a year ago through 6 shutouts of last year as well. They got a ton of experience back on both sides of the ball. And I'm excited to see what happens when Laverne comes to town on September 5th. Waletka has some holes to fill, but you know they will. They've got Isaiah Drake at quarterback, who had a huge year a year ago. My dark horse is O'Keene, the Whippets. Tanner Allen has taken over the reins. He's gone 20-6 in his first 2 seasons coaching in O'Keene. And O'Keene at Ceiling on October 10th is going to be a fun game to watch.
Mark.
I agree. I think that's right. I mean, Isaiah Drake at Waletka is awesome. So this class, Ceiling's going to be really good. Rush Hunt, give a shout out to him. A good player there for Ceiling. So O'Keene will have a solid squad this year, but I like this class. I think it should be really fun to watch. And glad we've got some good non-district games, like that Dewar Ceiling game that we talked about, and those will create a lot of excitement early on.
That's one thing about breaking up the classes. With 2 classes in Class B, is you are getting some really good non-district games because you now have 3 8-man classes, which gives you just a chance to have more good matchups in the preseason.
Waletka, also a new Squirrel School. So welcome to Waletka and their fans. Aaron, let's go to you, Class B2.
Yeah, as much as any class in the entire state, this one seems like a collision course for a rematch between Waletka and Ceiling. And a lot of times you see the team that has the chip on their shoulder and the motivational advantage from the year before works a little bit harder in the weight room over the summer, just is a little bit more ready to roll. So I'm going to pick the exact same final, except a different result. The Ceiling Wildcats winning B2.
Jacob.
This is going to be, Ceiling's year, I think. I just mentioned the transfer. They brought, Laverne's quarterback in. And like Tom said, there's going to be something about that loss in the finals last year that got lopsided, that just doesn't sit right out there in Ceiling this all season long and leading up to this season. And the one thing Ceiling does, and a lot of and again, like this was just mentioned, these schools are playing tough schedules. So when it comes to cold season, what I like to call it, when it comes to bundle up season, when championships are won, the cream rises to the top, and the cream in B2 is Ceiling. It's Waletka. I also like O'Keene a lot this season. I'm sticking to my Northwest theme. And then Wilson, the Wilson team, what is it? Wilson, Henry, what's the, yeah, that team, I think has a lot coming back, and it's gonna break in this season to the upper echelon of B2. But Ceiling's my pick.
All right, guys, we're down to our final class, Class C. Tipton won yet another state title, 28-20 win over Coach Severin's Timberlake team. Tom, tell us about Class C.
I think it's going to be Timberlake and Tipton again. Tipton has won 3 straight, 8 of the last 13 gold balls in Class C. Timberlake won it in 2021. Last year, I was at that game. Tipton won 28-20 over Timberlake in the finals at UCO. I talked to Coach Severin this week. He let me know that this year's squad could be the most athletic Timberlake team he's had. Maverick Judd is back. They've got a good quarterback in Peyton Pierce, coach's son, head basketball coach's son. The question marks are on the line, and he's going to be counting on a couple of sophomores to step up and help out. But they've got a whole season to get experience, though. And with a big game against Waynoki in October and a huge Week 10 matchup in the Panhandle against Tyrone, I think Tyrone or Timberlake, will be battle tested by then. Tipton, lost some good talent off of their championship team, but Coach White's just going to have them right back like he does every year. They'll be right back there near the top. Ryan's going to be in that mix as well. I'm going to throw in another team from our area up around Enid, and that is the Medford Fighting Cardinals. Ethan Gonzalez going for his third 1,000-yard rushing season. They've got a lot of experience on both sides of the ball. So Medford is my dark horse.
Mark?
That's a great breakdown of that class by Tom. I don't know. Am I going to get to talk to Maverick Judd on Sunday? Because that is one of the best names in Oklahoma high school football. It sounds like he should be riding a bareback bronc into the stadium. That was a great game last year in the final between Timberlake and Tipton. It could have gone either way. Tipton's won 41 in a row, so I'm going to say until somebody knocks them off, they're the favorite.
Kenny?
Yeah, Tipton and Timberlake appear to be the best ones. Ryan, the Fighting Sean Hams, it's appeared like they might get somewhere close, but man, when they ran into those guys, they're just not there. The other two are just cut above. I'll go with Timberlake, just to be different, to upset Tipton or stop that streak, just because it feels like every class I pick the same champ from the year before. So I'll go with Timberlake this time instead.
Real quick, I don't know if did I say who I thought was going to win? I think I threw Timberlake and Tipton out there together. I think Timberlake's going to win too. If I didn't say that, I'm saying it right now.
You're on record, Tom. Let's go to
Okay.
Jake.
Yes, Tipton going undefeated last year, 14-0 and winning the championship. That's an impressive run and it seems like Timberlake and Tipton end up inevitably playing in that for the gold ball in this class. That Maverick kid, he just sounds like a kid that wears, t-shirts with cut off sleeves a lot probably. And that comes in handy in warm weather. You would not believe it. And then Ryan too. Ryan's a team that and Winoka. I think Winoka's gonna make some noise. Medford's got one of the best running backs in the state in this class. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna pick Tipton to repeat.
You would think that Maverick should be playing for the Ryan Cowboys, but that's
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for joining us on the Skordle preseason pick'em show. Thanks to our sponsors, as you see there on the top of your screen. Really appreciate those guys, as well as Aaron joining us tonight as our guest picker. Look forward to having all of our fans on the pick'em show every week throughout the football season. The week 0 regular season games start next week, so be sure to tune into all the action and catch the scores on